Hey everybody, and welcome back to the I'll Do Cycling YouTube channel, where today we're going to be taking a look at the Classica San Sebastian. It seems like a while since I've done a video actually. The tour was, I was away watching the tour, which is why I didn't do any videos, and yeah, we're back now. My tour team didn't do that great, to be honest with you. I think I was like 10,000 something. Yeah, not that great, but you know, we move on. You live and learn, and it's a Super Classico. We're back with this. So, San Sebastian, the sort of classic post-Tour de France one-day race. It's a Category 2 race, and this is what the profile looks like. 213 kilometres. It's a really long race. Really characterised by the Jagsabel, the Airlights, and then lastly the Mergel Tontora. This is, it varies a little bit year on year. Obviously, with the kind of Airlights being a main meal here, let's say 4Ks at 10%. I mean, looking back through previous years, you can see how it was pretty similar last year, but with a different final climb. We went up the Pilotegi last time, if you remember. That was really steep. We had a slightly different as well in 2023. So really the closest we have is the 2022 edition of this race, which was won by Remco Evenepoel solo ahead of Sivakov and Tige Benoot. So it's quite interesting thinking about that. That's the closest comparison we have for this. It's not going to be exactly the same as last year, but it's going to be pretty similar, with probably, let's face it, like UAE Team Emirates probably creating a bit of a selection. But let's take a look at the VELOGAMES pricings. Arguably the trickiest part here is that there's a few big favourites for this race, but it's the balancing of people coming out of the Tour de France and how they're going versus people with good recent form or people building up for future goals in the season. It's a bit of a mixed bag that you get here. Hershey is 28 credits. Obviously these prices are set at the beginning of the year, as we all know, but Hershey wasn't that great during the Tour, and I think at 28 credits it's just very expensive for what we saw of him there. Alaphilippe seems to be off the start list at the moment, but I will speak as if he is competing in the race anyway. Alaphilippe had some flashes of brilliance during the Tour, and he does have a pretty good reputation in this race when he finishes, because he has DNF'd a few times, but he always finishes inside the top 10 whenever he's competed and finished a race, which is a good record to have, and so therefore a pretty safe pick to be having. Arambarou, I'd say this race is probably too hard for, especially considering we didn't see that much of him during the Tour. Benoot also has a good reputation in this race. He's finished top 10 3 times, and like I mentioned, this is a very similar course to the 2022 course, I think I said it was, where Benoot obviously finished in 3rd place. And yes, I know we didn't see much of him during the Tour, but he usually comes out of it doing quite well. Speaking of people with very good reputations in this race, Paulus has an exceptional record in this race. Obviously, he has won it in the past as well. And I think Paulus, again, a little bit of an understated rider, where he didn't get the big results in the Tour, but he was always very active during a lot of the breakaways, especially in the formation phases. Just they didn't really go his way any time. And I think that Paulus is a good rider for this race. He obviously seems to like it. He's very good at it. So I think Paulus is a safe one. Van Hills, it's coming into the riders of, people who we don't really know what form or what state he's in at the moment. I would say that he, alongside probably Pellizzari, should be leading Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe in this race. But Van Hills, the last we really saw of him was, I want to say it was like the Dauphiné or something like that, where we didn't see that much of him. But he is a good one-day racer. It's his sort of course with the steep gradients. So I think that he is a bit of a differential pick if you're looking for somebody a bit different to try and get yourself up the rankings, but be aware that it's going to come with a risk of the uncertainty of his form at the moment. Very similarly, I would say Ayuso is in that kind of area as well, where we haven't seen too much of him recently. The last we saw of him was at the Giro, where he obviously DNF'd, but he is also down for the Tour de Pologne, which starts like a couple of days after San Sebastian. And you'd think that if Ayuso is going to be competitive in that race, then he has to be at least in some decent form now. So I would say that Ayuso is a good pick. I don't think he's ever finished in the top 10 of this race, but he hasn't competed in this race a lot of times. So I think Ayuso is also quite a good one, because UE have lots of options here, and I expect them to make the race hard and have multiple riders in a front group. And if they do that, they're going to be able to play a lot of attacks and counter-attacks on the rest of the group, and Ayuso could certainly get his chance to shine. Bilbao has been on the podium of this race. I think it was 2023, just behind Remco Evenepoel. And I think that Bilbao is also a good one for this race. He wasn't at the Tour, so he's obviously coming in with fresher legs, so that's probably more to his advantage, I would say. But also with the risk of we don't know how he's going. Gregoire wasn't looking that great in the Tour for me, so I will probably be avoiding him. Sivakov, although UE team members have lots of domestiques here, and lots of good riders, and Sivakov is one of those, I think he'll more than likely be a domestique. Skelmoser was a DNF from the Tour, so we're not sure how he's going also. Ciccone, very similarly, he DNF'd for Giro d'Italia, so we don't know how they're going. So obviously they're both a bit risky, but you never know. One of them could really kind of come out of the woodwork and start, get a really good result, and not many people will be picking them, I think. So you got plenty of opportunities to put in some big differential picks. They're all, a Gregoire versus a Bilbao and a Skelmo, so they're all sort of this, and a Ayuso, they're all sort of the same. I don't think any one of them is particularly better. Maybe Ayuso a little bit, because he's got a stronger team around him. The other 18 credit riders, you've got Uijtdebroeks and Vlasov. I'm not that keen on either of those. Just haven't shown the form this year. The 16 credit riders, I think you got a good few choices here. Jan Christen was top 10 in this race last year. Del Toro, I think, will be the must-have pick that everybody should be going with, considering his recent form in lots of the small Spanish one-day races recently. Del Toro has been looking super strong, and I think that he is the must-have pick pretty much. Tobias Harland Johannesson coming out of the Tour, he was top 10. He looked pretty good in that last week, but that doesn't always translate into good results here. So be wary of Tobias Harland Johannesson. I think that I made that mistake with Jonas last year. I think he was competing in this race, and I put him on, and he just didn't do anything. So the fatigue really plays a big impact in this race, and maybe Tobias Harland Johannesson will come out swinging and do really well, get a top 5, or maybe he'll just his legs be completely dead. You just don't know how riders will fare coming out of the Tour. Lander, I don't think is actually in the race. Walter might do something. He's usually quite a good one for these Category 2 races. He just randomly comes out of the woodwork and just starts doing really well. But I think they'll probably be going for Benoit, but you never know. Walter might do something. Van Zevenot probably not. The 14 credit riders, Lenny Martinez possibly. He was active in the Tour at least and showing some decent form. Quinn Simmons was looking good in the Tour as well, very active, looked very strong. But I would say this course doesn't suit him that well. I don't think these long 10% gradient stretches are that good for him. Aurelien Palapentra, I think should be leading Decathlon in this race, because I don't see that many other options for their squad, so I think he'll get the nod from their team to be the leader. I think Onley will be very heavily selected, and I think that's a smart move. Kind of similar to Harland Johannesson, you just don't know how they're going to be coming out of the Tour, but Onley was very good in that last week. He's a great puncher. This is the sort of course that really suits him. It's very much like the Tour de Suisse parcours, and I think Onley is a really good pick. Him and Del Toro is a good combination to build a team off of. The other 12 credit riders, Zambonini and Tiberi, I just don't know who Bahrain Victorious will be riding for. Schmid possibly, but he needs to get in a preemptive move rather than waiting for all the action to kick off. Pellizzari I like as well, alongside Van Hills for leading Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. Pellizzari going into the Vuelta, he's going to be in his kind of build-up phase, so he might not be in his best form right now, but certainly he should be in some sort of fighting fit form. Igor Arieta's been in good form as well recently. UE Team Emirates got so many options here, it's ridiculous, but Arieta a little bit more under the radar, so I think that he might, again, be a good differential pick. 8 credits is quite a good price, and you might need a couple of these smaller, lower-priced riders. Arieta's been very good. I think he won Puebla Franca the other day. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but he's been looking pretty good. So Arietta, I like. Pablo Castillo, I don't know who Movistar will be leading, or who will be leading Movistar in this race, but Castillo is certainly as good of a shout as any. Chris Harper, again, very similarly. Jayco, I don't know who will be leading their team. I think it'll be Chris Harper or Luke Plapp. Harper could certainly be a top 20. 8 credits is certainly a decent enough price for him. I also quite like Mulberger. He was quietly, top 15 in the Tour, and that's the sort of performance which can really lead to, if he's been able to rest enough, can really lead to a top 10 just randomly, and a good differential pick for sure. Nerurka was third the other day in some Spanish one-day race, so he's clearly in some decent form. I think they'll be working for Paulus, but it's worthwhile mentioning him nonetheless. Plapp, like I mentioned earlier, I think he'll be trying to get in some preemptive moves. Then the 6 credit riders, you might need some of these, I suppose. Andrew August was very good in the Tour of Austria. He was on the podium there. So certainly one to look out for. I'm not sure who will be leading in the Ostimis race. I think it'll be him or Langolotti. There aren't that many. I mean, you could say Tibor Del Grosso. I think this race will be too difficult for him personally, but I am a big fan of Del Grosso. Ualio, again, Byron Victorious. I don't know who they'll be leading with, but Ualio is as good of a climber as the rest of them, really. So I like him as well for this race. Harada can really, pull a bit of a blinder every now and again. Anders Harland Johansson won the Tour of Slovenia. That was a little bit ago, and he has had the Tour between now and then, but worthwhile mentioning him nonetheless. Langolotti, like I said, him or Andrew August I see as being the leaders. Probably Langolotti is a little bit more likely, given his kind of more experience, but that also doesn't really add up sometimes in the modern era. Jürgen Nordhagen, he's building up for the Tour de l'Avenir, so he should also be in some decent form. He's had a kind of rocky year, but he's building up. He's looking better. He was good in the Tour of Norway and in the Tour de Romandie as well. So I think that him and Benoit, Nordhagen could certainly get a top 20. And for a 6 credit rider, that's actually quite good. Prodom for a top 20. He obviously won that stage of the Giro. He's had a lot of rest since then, and I think that Prodom could honestly be a really good pick as well for a top 20. Rondell, maybe. Florian Stork as well, maybe if Alaphilippe isn't taking part. I think Stork could be a decent one. Vestlinia as well. For Alpecin, I don't see them having a big leader, and he was top 20 in Liège-Bastogne-Liège earlier this year. He was good in the Tour de Suisse, so maybe he could do something as well. And then the 4 credit riders, I don't really think you need one of these, but you might do, I suppose. I don't particularly like many of them. I would be going for assist points, possibly, or probably just go with Albert Verven Philipsen, to be honest with you. That would probably be the safest move. Anyway, this is my team at the moment. I've got Del Toro and Onley, the kind of 2 must-have picks in my opinion. Arietta based upon recent form. And then I've got Paulus based upon his good history of this race. And then Van Hills and Skelmoser just because kind of rounded it up to 100 credits. And the winning team might well be less than 100 credits in this race. I'm certainly tempted by a Kristen as well. I'm tempted by some cheaper riders for sure, like like a Mulberger or a Nerurka or whoever else. There's plenty of riders to be going at, but yeah, I feel like that's my team at the moment. It's not watertight by any means, and it might certainly change. I think the ones I'm least certain on are probably Van Hills and Skelmoser, but let me know what you're thinking in the comment section down below. Who are you thinking of putting onto your teams? And let me know if there's any riders which I've missed out in this run through of the Donostia Classica San Sebastian. So yeah, put your teams in the comment sections down below. And all that's left to say is to stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next video. Salut.